It's Joyful Christian Hermit yet again. I'm calling this video Meeting Max. I had to return 7 boxes of these stones because the company to Home Depot, but it's been way too long, and they have someone at some number somewhere deciding my fate. So of course I'm praying that she will accept these, because there's reasons why I'm late in returning them. But Ezra, my dear sweet friend there who works at customer service, he didn't explain it exactly as I would have, as I explained to him. The reason they're coming back and I can't use them is that I had a certain color, and it's printed on the box, and it's supposed to be white, off-white, buff color, and ghost white. And these, at the bottom of each box, I discovered they would put in there's 6 trays per box. They would put in 2 trays of gray, medium gray. And I don't want gray on it. I don't have use for gray. I bought birch buff. I didn't buy gray. And white ghost would not be medium gray. It wouldn't even be a light gray, I don't think. It would be whitish looking, an off-white of some kind, or a ghostly white, sort of amorphous looking. But, so I didn't realize this. I just started stoning last spring, and then the weather turned so quickly because it's so slow. It's so tedious. I can only do it in certain weather. And I didn't realize also how long it would take me to, first of all, put the, nail in all this metal lath on it, and then, or do the tar paper, then the metal lath, and then put a thin coat of concrete over the whole thing, mudding it with concrete on a what's called a hawk. You hold it like this, and it's a flat tray thing that mortar men use, men who do mortar and women who do mortaring. And I would heap that mortar on there and get up there on the 16-foot ladder way up to the top and smooth it on. And of course, a lot of it would flop down, and I'd try to catch it, and flop off. It was very difficult to do and time consuming. And I had to do that within a certain temperature range. And where I am, we don't have much in between. It's either very, very hot or it gets cold. So it was by last spring. And then also I had the knee replacement. That got in the way. My knee gave out. It was not long after I bought these stones. So anyway, with my health, it's always something. So I couldn't work on it that spring or that fall of the year I actually bought it in. And then had to wait till the following spring to do the lath and the mortaring. And I think I had to do the mortaring then in the fall. And then I started last spring. Year 3, I started putting the stone up and got, maybe 3 feet up on each side in the allotted time. And I've been out there daily, except for when it's rained or the 3 days out for watching my daughter. And so I've been very consistent. And I think I bought an extra tube of this adhesive that can be put on in cooler weather, cooler than 55 degrees. I think tomorrow I will try using that if it's not raining. It's been raining again. So anyway, but the reason that I can't use these is I went through every box and took out the gray now after making a mistake using some, and then had to smear, camouflage it. Because rather than chipping it out, I explained in a different video what I was trying to deal with. So I wish Ezra would have said what was sent was wrong. They sneaked in 2 trays of gray. 1/3 of the box was gray, in other words. So evidently, people aren't using gray now. So they're offloading it on people like me. And I still need 5 more boxes. I think it's 5 I have to order to do around the garage. So if I don't get a refund on these 7 boxes, it's expensive for it being flawed. It's I said it was flawed, unusable, stuff. So, but he didn't say that. And I'm thinking about buying like 6 boxes or 7 and just taking it back. Or maybe no, I'd have to get more than that. 10 boxes. And then take back 7 and use sort out the gray and take back mine included or something. I don't know how I'll work it out. I'll figure it out. But I'm praying because I don't want to do something that's sneaky, yet maybe it would be justified in this situation. He did tell them that I was very disabled and wasn't able to do it in the time frame that you're supposed to return things. And they have been good with me in the past. The manager has overrode stuff, but Ezra, for some reason, this time said he didn't want to get the manager involved. So I may have to try myself again because no one's going to buy gray stone. Gray is out now as far as a color being used. He says, well, sell it on Marketplace, Facebook. I said, no one's going to buy gray stone. 7 boxes of it. That's not enough for much of a project. I bought loads, and I've spent so much money at Home Depot. So I hope they'll take that. But I'm praying. Otherwise, I'll figure out something, and I guess if worse comes to worse, I end up having a big loss. I'll put it on my taxes as a theft or something, as a store, being thieved by a company. I'll call that Airstone place too. But I still need more to do around the garage, but I'll wait till spring to order it in case I'm dead. I won't do it, obviously. But it was, I needed help getting them out of the truck because it was going to rain, so I had to squeeze the dogs in with these 7 big boxes inside the truck cab portion. And loading my dolly, I just would put 2 boxes on at a time. It was heavy. I fell in the garage. I don't know how I did. I lost balance somehow. And I guess I grabbed hold of the trash can and it didn't have anything or not enough. And so it moved and I fell back. But fortunately, I didn't hit my head. I didn't break anything. I'm going to be sore tomorrow. I really landed on my skinny rear end. I've lost my rear end in my old age. And but I've gained 5 pounds. That's great news because I was getting really, you can't tell in this video, but I've got really anorexic looking. Not my fault. I just, my intestines and being so sick with the septic shock and so anyway, that's good news. But I met this young man. He was taking in carts, and I rolled up beside him. I said, could you, when you're done with that, could you help me bring some boxes in, some returns? And oh, sure. So he came over, and the dogs, of course, they were so squeezed in I couldn't even get their seat belts on them. So Lovey had gotten into the front seat and was trying to get out to get to this boy, a young man. I thought maybe he was 19 or 20. But and as we were, going, he got everything out. They said, oh, don't worry about it. I have 7 dogs. And so, because he says, I love dogs. And of course, Lovey and Mercy got a little bit of attention. And he got everything loaded up and on a cart. It was taking it in one of these flatbed things, rollers. And I asked his name. I don't know. I just sense people sometimes. He just seemed like the nicest young man. And he said it was Max. And oh, I love that name. I just thought that was so good. And he started talking. He says, most people think it's Maximilian. But he says, it's just plain Max. I said, good. I said, that's nice and simple. And I said, it suits you. It just fits you. You are a Max. And he says, well, actually, I chose that name for myself, he says. And he tells me how he was adopted by his grandparents. He said, I had terrible parents. And, he started telling me these things. And I just was like, wow, what a unusual young man, and all that he's gone through. And he said he was in court, and he says it was just a last minute thing. He thought he'd like a new name, and it seems like it wasn't that long ago that his grandparents adopted him, so he'd been through a lot, obviously, with his parents. And he didn't say, what they were doing, but I suspect drugs. That's what I feel, that they were druggies. And he probably had to go through some foster situations, because they don't just let grandparents usually just take you. Or the grandparents have to go through a process, because they're older, for one thing. A lot of times they try to put children in with the younger people, younger parents, and with other kids in the family. Because if grandparents are elderly, which they usually are, they could die, and then what with the child? So, but he said he just all of a sudden stood up and asked the judge, could I have a legal name change? He says, I'd like a new name with my new parents. And the judge said, well, sure, if it's all right with your grandparents who were adopting him legally. And they were fine with that. So he chose Max. And I asked him what his previous name was, and it was Cannon. Cannon, as in cannonball, or a cannon, a law. So, but I didn't ask him the spelling. It was probably Cannon. I bet, like cannonball or something, or a cannon. So anyway, Max, we made a connection. So when it came time for, and he reached out his hand to shake my hand when he'd gotten the stuff inside, and said, do you need anything else? Need me to do anything else for you? I said, oh no, you've been wonderful. And he said, it was just so nice to have met you. He said that, just a polite young man. And so when it got time for me to get these boxes loaded back into my truck, and it's okay, and I'm not going to do anything wrong as far as tricky with these stones. I'll do my best to get my money back and reorder then what I need, the amount, and no gray in it. That what I ordered was what was the description was. It wasn't gray. So, I mean, it's just right is always right. But I don't want to do something wrong in trying to get those boxes returned. So I'll just pray and see if God will help me out with it. Yet again, help me out, Lord. so that I can then purchase the proper color or extra and sort out the gray and take them back. Take the gray back and sort it out from the color, from the box that should have all of this off-white variations, not gray. So when it came for me to, Ezra, do you want some help? Of course I did. I said, I don't want to risk falling again in the garage or I'll never finish this task. So I said, not unless I break my neck and it kills me. I said, then I can fall. But I said, I don't want to be a halfway. It's getting to that point. I mean, I'm being a little bit facetious, but, it gets to the point where you'd sort of like to stop being just seriously ill or have something serious happen. Lord, take me. And he will, God will, when it's the right time, that's for sure. Gotta wait. I've got to wait and be strong, Jesus told me back in 2012. So I said, so Ezra says, I'll call for a loader. I said, please ask for Max. We have a connection. We made a connection, Ezra. So he called Max and he comes. And as we were going out, he started talking and he could tell, well, probably my crucifix. Why am I thinking, how did he tell I was a Christian? But we were talking about our missions in life. And I asked him, I thought he was 19 or 20, as I said, but he's just 16. And he's taking online high school courses. And he's going to start college soon. He's working fast through online courses. He'll be out of high school real soon. And he'll start college. Or, no, I think, he'll be graduated from high school this year as a 16-year-old. So he's advanced in his schooling. He's very responsible. He's working at Home Depot. And his grandparents don't live far away from the Home Depot. I know right the area where he lives. Because he says, that's far, because he asked where I lived. Because I think he was going to offer to come help me. Bless his heart. And because I mentioned, why I had to take them back is that I have to wait to see if they're going to accept the return, the corporate level. And I said, it wasn't fully explained to them why, because it's actually something that the company did that wasn't really right, putting in a third gray in what was not to be gray at all. And on the bottom of the box, too, of course, the last two levels were these gray on every single box. So I said, I get sick, and I said I nearly died 3 months ago. So I said, this has been a long project, a little bit, every spring or fall I would do and not get very far. But I said, this is the closest I am to finishing, and I plan to finish, God willing and body able, I said. And so he asked about, what it was like, to be, nearly done. I said, well, actually, I said in 1987, way before he was born, I said I did die in recovery after a back surgery. And I usually will tell young kids, how I was hit by a teenage drunk driver when I was 33 with all my life ahead of me. And sometimes I'll jokingly say, make sure you don't get hit by a drunk teenager. To teens, I'll say that. And they'll sort of look at me and then laugh, because of course we can't predict. We're not in control of the drunk teenagers or drunk older people out there driving who may hit us without warning. So other than a couple of seconds or so, we had maybe 15 seconds at the time. it seemed like later it seemed like it was time enough for my husband at the time to have hit the gas and just charged out of the way, because we could see him coming too fast and taking a curve and aiming right at us. But reflexes don't work that way. And actually, everything starts going in slow motion. So it seemed like it was longer or long enough. But it wasn't, He couldn't have had that kind of reflex to hit the gas and make sure he'd get out of the way. We just sort of froze. Well, of course, my husband cursed and said something. He's gonna hit us. Cursed. That was that was that. That was my former husband. How he became himself more. When we dated, he didn't curse. He knew I was not in for that. He did what he wanted and behaved and made up lies about his previous life because he wanted to win me over. Oh, I guess I should also tell young people, be yourself when you're dating. And if the girl or the guy doesn't like who you are, then that's best to be yourselves. But anyway, so I mentioned that I'd die. Oh, I want to hear about that. So I told him about the death experience. It's not long, but how everything goes with us, our emotions, our inner senses. We breathe, the air is so pure and light and fresh, like mountain air or something, but better. Everything was incredible. And I told him about all the love and the joy and how easy it was. And we, practically feel like we're flying at the speed, some speed of light or faster, instantaneous thought flashing to communicate and moving about just effortlessly. Everything's effortless. And the joy and the laughter and all of our senses, our memory, our understanding, our ability to think, and our will is still with us. Our souls, with our intellect and our will in it, our emotions, our ability to imagine and see images, and I say all the inner senses: sight, hearing, smell, taste. But it's all effortless. The interior senses are effortless and eternal. It's all eternal. It's so wonderful. And he says, well, did you see God? I said, what did you see? And I said, well, actually, I was taken to the center of this huge sphere, dark in the center, but light all around the rim. And I was right before God. But I didn't need to see God because I knew it was God. And he spoke to me through this thought flashing, instantaneous back and forth. And I told him how he showed me asked me if I wanted to go back or stay with him, go on with him, or to go back. And there was no hesitation. I want to go on with you. And then he showed me my children, my lovely little children. And that was like, ooh, oh. Because you don't remember. I mean, you remember as soon as you see, but everything's so glorious, you're not thinking of anything of the past. Nothing of the past. And then he showed me my ex-husband, who had a terrible temper, then showed me when he was in a temper, just his face, all blown up and bulbous and red and angry, and his forehead all scrunched and these deep furrows, and his eyes squinting, real angry and evil, just scary. And I was like, oh, another oh, but worse. And oh, my children, And then God asked me again, do you want to go on with me now or go back? And I still couldn't say I would go back. Even though I felt guilt, I realized my children would be reared by their dad. And he was a womanizer. He was narcissistic. He lied. He had that terrible temper, and he didn't really care about them. He only cared because I had custody, other than his had visitation. And when the judge let us out of state, his visitation went way down. The judge figured out. My attorney said there are other things, but we don't want to get into it. But my ex-husband got angry with the judge and went on a rant about how great he was. And the judge saw. He saw. So he didn't get much visitation. Couple of weeks in the summer and every other Christmas for a week, I think it was. Or maybe it was 10 days, something like that. If the kids wanted to. If they wanted to. He put it that way also. And the kids eventually did, because he had a woman with 3 children finally. And so it was more fun for them to go. And he had moved to an island, the San Juan Islands, off of Seattle. So that was intriguing and beautiful. And so it was fun for them then. More fun with these other kids who were their ages. So it made it nice, very close in age. And I felt better about it because he had this woman there who I trusted would, at least be protective of the children. And, but then that trust got broken one time. But anyway, so that was that, but I knew, and I couldn't say I would go back, because I still wanted to go on so badly. But I was conflicted deeply, and I decided I would just say, I'll do whatever you want me to do, God. And he says, I'm sending you back. Rear your children and fulfill your mission. So I told Max, I'm in my mission phase now, and I'm not sure what it is, but I'm trying. And I said, the older I get, and I said, since I nearly died 3 months ago or so, I realize, that anything could happen anytime. And I said, so now I'm more, bit more frantic, actually, about it. And, more really striving to figure out exactly what it is, even to the point of thinking about trading abodes with my daughter and stopping my renovation, even though I'm very close to finishing. Because I think I need to do more for God than what I'm doing with renovating. And I said, I keep having things happen to me. Like, when I fell in the garage, I lay there just for maybe a couple of minutes, just sort of assessing, like, did I break something? I hit my hand. So my hand, I think it's this hand, I'm moving it. But my hip, that bone in the right hip, that'll be sore, probably bruised. But I got up, I could walk. And I was praising God. So fortunately, I was prepared, because I could tell I was losing my balance when I grabbed the trash can, and then it moved because it wasn't very heavy, didn't stay put. And it's on wheels, obviously, duh, but it's the only thing around I could grab. And so I was sort of mentally prepared, and I always do. God is so good, or my angel probably was the one. I tend to go into a slight roll when I fall, like to protect my back. So I was sort of on my side, so that helped. But I said, even that could have, really put me out for a long time. So I said, I keep thinking that God wants me to be doing more for Him, witnessing more. And he says, well, whatever. He says, what you just told me about, how real God is, because I always say that because he is, he's so real, and how wonderful heaven is. Well, I wasn't even in heaven proper at all. I wasn't even, I wasn't even judged yet. I was sort of in an anteroom at a midway point or something. The decision area, the decision universe. I was in the center of it with God, he was making, deciding what to do with me and giving me a chance to say what I wanted. But then showed me, obviously, the first time he didn't want me to stay. Maybe a lot of people say they'll go back. I don't know. But I can't imagine a lot of people would not want to go back. You don't even think about what was past or what was back or going. It's just too glorious there. It's too wonderful. That's all you're thinking about is all that love and the joy and the glory. It's just, and everything's so effortless. It's just so wonderful. So, and I told him, I said, I don't fear death at all, but I said, the suffering to get there is really difficult. So that's sort of an obstacle between me and death is, the amount of suffering I may have to go through to get passed over. We'll find out. We'll all find out, won't we? Keep a sense of humor about it. I tell myself, lighten up, even if it's a lot of suffering from, whatever God chooses how we're going to die, it'll all be okay because I'll be there eventually. I'll be there. I'll be in that glorious, loving place unless I really lose it and do something terribly evil. So that's why I'm even more intent about every thought, step, action. Is it one toward heaven or is it one toward hell? Trying to be very careful, even like with my plan to try to buy extra and use what I need and then get the rest of it back. Somehow to get rid of these gray, wrongly sent stones back, if I can. But I have to remember, will I worry about it on my deathbed? No, indeed not. I will not. So if I lose $5,000 even, I'll have to look up. I can't even remember what I paid. I've just been doing the house, just working on it, and knew that I was going to make money on it, but now that I won't. It's just, but I'm doing it for my family and for Father Vincent, the people in my will, in my trust. The more it's valued, the more they'll get sale value. And if the daughter can't buy it or for some reason or doesn't want to, then it'll be sold and they'll all get more. They'll get the price, and they'll get the price anyway for it because she'll pay them. So it's worth it to keep doing a good job always, because it's Jesus's house. I'm doing this for Jesus, for whomever he's going to have living here. And it looks like it's going to be the daughter, but it may end up being someone else. And I won't know because I'll be dead. Or I might know, but it won't matter to me. So Max says, he says, this is your mission. He says, what you've shared with me. And he said some beautiful things. He's a wonderful Christian. As it turns out, he's beyond his years. He's 16. And I said, your eyes. I said, you just are filled with Christ. He is his eyes and his essence. We were out, it was dark, but the lights from the store, and he just is a beautiful specimen of a beautiful soul. I said, what you have been through, and look at you. Good job, good job. And he said, well, you need to remember that the Lord chooses soldiers who he knows will do what is needed to be for him. Be for him. And I said, well, look at you. I said, march on, soldier, soldier on. And we both laughed because it is true. You know, it says in Scripture, you know, that the Lord won't give you what you cannot bear. But these trials are what strengthens our faith. And he wouldn't bother if we weren't capable of more faith. And he wouldn't bother if he knew we didn't want faith. We want more faith. Lord, increase our faith. We say what Peter said or what the disciples said. I forget which one. I think it was the 3 after the transfiguration. Lord, increase our faith. Or maybe it was after they asked him about prayer or his miracles. You know, Jesus explained it takes faith, you know. And, well, Lord, increase our faith. But we really had a little love fest in the parking lot. This Max and I did. And just a meeting of 2 Christians, an old one and a young one. And I thought driving home, what are the odds? You know, and I'm so glad that I told Ezra, oh, call for Max. I connected with him. I sensed up front while we were walking in when he, you know, had the stuff loaded up, and he was so polite, and he told me about his adoption and his name change, and that he wanted it just simple, Max, nothing else, you know, just Max. And anyway, Maximilian, it isn't, but Maximilian, I think, stands for greatness or something. And this boy is a great soul. The things he would talk about, also, I won't go into all of it, but about the Lord, and he knows the Lord personally, and he's sharing. He's what a gift I had tonight from God, meeting Max. So hang in, everyone, hang in, and hang on for the ride. God does such incredible things for us when we express increased desire. And I have been. God knows I'm seriously striving more, and I'm getting very close to wrapping it up here. I'm going to try to finish the stonework, God willing and body able, as I said. And then I've asked him already, does he want me to do the grouting or finish some tiling or work on some trim or nothing, or pack up and trade with the daughter and deal with the concrete floor. Learn to love more so that I'll transcend the pain that being on concrete, walking and standing on concrete, will cause. So, you know, that's a wonderful challenge, isn't it? To learn to love more with a meter at my feet, basically. The concrete meter, letting me know how I'm doing with the love. So here's this, I think it's a sermon, we'll see. It's a sermon or a letter from John Vianney. I think it's a sermon here, and I thought it's good and pertinent. Cease to bear bad fruit, bring forth that of eternal life. And Camilla said something interesting in a comment. because I had told her, she's just so positive. She makes these positive statements, even about, how lovely the brown is on me or whatever, the warm brown. And I don't think in terms of, what I look like or anything. But I remembered, I think I mentioned how my daughter had commented that I looked nice, which is not often that she would say, or that I would wear something that I guess she thought, was very proud of me or something for looking with it. And, but Camilla always comments, and it's always positive. Things are positive, or if something I say, it might be a lousy yap I've done about and get off all track of things, but she'll come up with something that I did say that was positive, and say how lovely that was or something, and and the comments are very stimulating. They stimulate my mind to think more and to respond, little conversations, spiritual conversations, which is nice. And so I asked her about it, and she says, well, she says, it's such a small thing to be able to do. And she says, if I make someone feel a little better, then, one by one, I'm lifting up the world, making them feel better in life in little tiny ways. And he says, it's something I can do to lift up the people in the world just a little bit. And every little bit counts. Yes, it does. And every little bit adds up to a whole lot. And I thought that's a wonderful way of expressing it and of doing it. That's why we seek the positive in people and reflect it back to them. Reflect it back, because it positive is loving, and the love grows that way. It's like watering a seed, that love is the water. Love is the living water. God is love. Jesus says, I am the living water. So, love, water with love. Bring forth that of eternal life by ceasing to bear bad fruit. Positivity brings forth love, and love is ours in eternity. It's constant love. I can't describe it, that love, that level of love. It's just beyond fathoming, but it's there. It's a reality. So, we see that our divine Savior compares us to a fig tree that the Father planted in his vineyard. He cuts him, he cultivates it with his grace in the hope that he will bring forth fruit. But seeing that he does not bear any, although he does not bear bad fruit either, he tears it down and throws it into the fire. Tell me, is it not to show us that Jesus Christ will only give his paradise to those who deserved it by their good works? See Jesus Christ, who is our model. Was he in any moment in his life not working to do good works, to convert souls to his Father, and to suffer? See, Jesus loved and he suffered. And he loved to suffer because he suffered in order to love more and more. And we all, miserable that we are, we would like him to cost us nothing. You haven't done anything, or if you haven't done anything, or if what you have done is lost for some human sight, start immediately, so that in death you can still find something to present to Jesus Christ to give you eternal life. But you will say, maybe, I only did harm throughout my life. I'm just a bad tree that can no longer bear good fruit. My brothers and sisters, it can still be, and I'm going to teach you. Change this earthly tree, sprinkle it with water, smoke it with other fertilizers, and you will see that you will have good fruit, although you have been born very bad so far. Although you have borne very bad fruit so far. Make yourself like the earth, which, before the flood, drew water from its breast to water itself, without having to use the clouds of the sky to give it fertility. Likewise, my brothers and sisters, draw this salutary water from your own heart, which will change the situation. You watered it with the bubbly, it says here burbly. This is a new word I haven't heard, but burbly. It's very discreet. It sounds like water, burbling. Burbly water of your passions. Well, now sprinkle it with the tears of repentance, pain, and love, and you will see that you will stop being a bad tree to become one that will bear fruit for eternal life. So he's reminding us, bearing good fruit is up to us. It's within our reach. God helps us with this. Jesus helps. Jesus' life helps us understand how to bear good fruit and to become a tree that is filled with good fruit. Water ourselves with the water of life, Jesus Christ. The other day I found myself, I was struggling, I was exhausted, and I just said, Jesus, feed me. Jesus, feed me. Please feed me. Now I need you. And I didn't see any vision of Jesus giving me a host. That happened to me one time, actually way back, when Reverend Monsignor had been particularly rude. I was in a pain siege and cold, and he didn't want that. And, I said I would love to have communion. Is there anyone who would bring me communion? And he ignored that. And I got off the phone and was suffering away on the bed. It was this bed in a different place. It was in Agnes Day Hermitage, my little new little house that had the concrete slab construction that when I sold it, I said I would never again. But Jesus stood right to my left, right here. He stood by the bed and handed me a host. I opened my mouth and received it, and then he just disappeared. And that's the only time that's happened. But I knew he didn't need to appear to me anymore the other day. And I don't usually do that, but I was really needing to be fed. I needed him to feed me. So that's why I asked, feed me, Lord, please feed me, come and feed me. And I felt then filled. I was, my attitude, everything, I knew I needed to rest. And I finished up cleaning up, feeding the dogs, and we went to bed very early. Well, as soon as we were done with dinner, which was late because I'd worked extra long trying to finish out there. And I didn't quite. So, but I was exhausted. And that's all it takes. We don't have to see it. We don't have to feel it or experience anything tangibly, temporally, or even spiritually. But he will feed us if we ask, and we will be better for it. So I thought, wow, why haven't I done that before? Just asked sincerely, and I meant it. I really needed to be fed. I was dragging inside and out. So God is so good in that way, and he will He will teach us how to be fruitful and multiply, even in our old age. Just like Max said to me, well, you're doing your mission right now, sharing this with me. He says, this is so good for me to hear about what it was like. And I made clear I didn't go further. God was just determining if I was going to go further or go back. It's just an initial step. But even in that, there was so much I learned about the glory and beauty and joy and love, and how easy, to have everything go with us except our temporal and tangible, including our temporal senses don't, but our inner senses. And it's made me more aware now of utilizing my inner senses more now and asking God to help me do so. Like to sense Max and to sense, right off that I was making a connection with him that was important. And that's been happening increasingly lately. That I'll see someone and think I've met them before. But no, and it's ended up that we needed to meet. We either talk about Christianity, the other person and me, or somehow I'm able to share something with the person who isn't as involved with Christianity or Christ or prayer or some aspect or love or has some need of some sort. A tangible need even, that I could say something that could be helpful or offer something to the person. So, I think, being open when we're out. Don't dare to be open. Dare to risk with people. I thought I recognized the person at the doctor's office. I had an appointment with this GP, annual Medicare wellness check or whatever they call it. And I was sure I had met her before, and I asked her. And she said, no. And I said, well, it's lovely meeting you now. I thought of Camilla and her positives. So I tried to say something positive, and she accepted that. She didn't want to talk or anything. But that was okay. I'd left her with the positive. And she had to check something and then left. Anyway, she was in line and was called up. But, and I wonder, maybe these people I think I've met, maybe there's some of the ones that keep coming to me ever since the septic shock. I get these faces or these persons approach me in my inner sight. But I've asked God to help me use my inner sight more, to do with me as he wills, to help me do my mission. And if my mission is also, I shared this with Max, that the reminder that it didn't really matter to God what I was doing, whether it was a stonework or something else, more what we might think more directly connected with God, reading my Bible or a book or doing a better prepared video or something. But as God just wants us to interact with him and to love him, to be with him, talk to him, listen to him, ask him. I told Max, I said how I've been basically telling God what I'm doing, or me deciding, what I'm doing, this, that, or next, or whatever. And no, how disrespectful. Ask and you shall receive. God knows best. And so I said, now I'm practicing probably more, and it maybe seems silly, but it's like spiritual boot camp. I'm putting myself through some drills, through the paces, basic exercises of asking God Lots of things, what his preference is, what he would like of me in this or in that. Even, I thought of this. I should ask him, how would you like me to praise you? In what ways do you take pleasure? What would make you happy, Lord? How can I please you? Things like that, What would you like for your holy day? Every day is God's day. So be very interactive with them, joyously as possible, and in our sorrows interact. Cry on God's shoulder. Ask God to embrace us when we need a hug. He will, in some way, shape, or fashion, or form. And become consumed with God in a holy way, which means a healthy way. Let God lead us in that. God will keep us healthy, keep us presentable. Don't go crazy doing it. Keep it private. I know how it is. I've seen people who have been indiscreet, and it can really turn off others in a way that's not helpful if we go too far. If we cannot meet other people where they are, and like if Max hadn't asked or brought up certain things or picked out things he wanted to hear about, then I wouldn't have. I'd gloss over, move on. We don't want to startle people or turn them off to God. And giving ourselves over, God will lead us. He'll lead us in everything. And we don't have to just consciously be asking. If we get into the mode where God knows that we want to do it His way, things will just start rolling effortlessly for us. So I'm realizing, building ourselves, developing ourselves, fertilize ourselves, water ourselves with God's grace by asking God. He's the master gardener. He'll tell us ways that we can increase our love, our faith, our hope, our closeness to Him. And it might not be in words, but just some thought or seeing something, noticing somebody else do something, generating ideas. Maybe in the comments section here in these videos we can express ideas of ways of interacting with God, or of how we can better fertilize ourselves so that we will bear good fruit, amazing fruit, and abundant fruit. Plenty to go around. Doesn't have to be big. Even little blueberries, these little tiny wild blueberries are wonderful, or the little tiny wild strawberries. Oh, the flavors of some of the tiny little fruits is beyond compare, really, and lots of health in them. So we don't have to be a tree, we can be a bush. So a nothing, something unnamed even, unknown fruit bearer. So God bless His real presence in us. Have a beautiful evening or day, whatever time zone you're in.